All right. Hey guys, what's up? It's a Thursday. I know, I sprung it on you. I didn't give you any warning. That's how we do it sometimes. You've heard of the Irish goodbye? This is the Irish hello. I just spring it on you. I don't give you. I do no promotion. No promotion at all. I just start. I mentioned it last week or last show on Tuesday. Every day is like a week. I said that we were going to start doing Tarabuster on Thursdays. I didn't tell you it was going to be this week, but I didn't think it was going to be this week either, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I woke up today and I said, F it. I'll sleep when I'm dead. And we have a lot of work to do. We have to beat back fascism. Once again, whoever thought, right? We had to do it less than 100 years ago, and now here we are doing it again. How many times does a bad idea need to be suppressed or need to be proven wrong? Let's put it that way, because frankly, I'm a normal person. I've had a lot of therapy. Not that, I'm just saying that's normal. But this is the thing about progressives. If it works, if fascism was wonderful, we'd all be for it. If it actually created health, happiness, wealth, unity, e pluribus unum, freedom, all that stuff, we would be for it. Not, we wouldn't be fighting so fiercely for those things, for freedom, for unity, for decency, dignity, democracy, and humanity. But the fact is, fascism doesn't work, and it's only promoted by people who are horrible, underwhelming, and need every advantage they can have. They don't want to let go of their white privilege, or they simply, what would they do without it, really? They would, if all things are equal, where would they be? It's like Traitor Trump, I always say. Where would he be without his trust fund? He's not a very impressive person. They all know that. People who are impressive, people who have very big brains, know that he's not one of them. Neither are, we did a whole show about this on the other day about the billionaires. Neither are Peter Thiel, neither are Elon Musk. These are people that need they need all their advantages, and they need the grift. It's all about grift for them. They have no sincere anything in their heart except greed. That's why they want to make everybody as horrible as they are. They want the country, because the country was as promised, is decent. We have a very decent progressive blueprint from which to build upon. Do we have the courage to bring it really to fruition? The more we get closer to that more perfect union, the more we see the underwhelming maggots, the more we see them repel. Hey there, Brandon. See you in the chat room. Nice to see you there. Yes, happy Thursday. I know. It's all good. I didn't tell anybody, so I don't know if anybody's coming to the party. Well, hopefully they have their notifications set, and it will be a nice surprise, and they can join us. I didn't even tell Jim. He didn't know. Well, because like I said, I didn't really know myself until this morning. I didn't tell Charlie that I was doing it. He, because he simulcast. He likes to put this show up on APS radio. But I didn't tell him. And yes, thank you, Charlie, from APS Radio and APS Radio News for everything you do to keep this show going and growing, and for your support of the community cats, especially this winter. It's finally, the snow is melting outside, thank goodness. All right, let's begin with what and thank you, Charlie. So if you got, guys, classic rock and oldies all day, APS Radio, how can you go wrong? Just put that on your browser. There's a little app downloads, like a little iTunes app. I have it. You know, it takes 2 seconds, and you let it play. the background of your day, and also classical music too. All right. Hey, Charlie. Thank you, Charlie from APS Radio. Okay. Look at what's happening. And now I want to go. I want to talk about what the Epstein files. I want to talk about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor getting arrested. And hey, I'm pretty much envious, right? We should have stayed with the UK. Sometimes I think about that. We shouldn't have broken free from the mothership. Maybe we would have, not maybe. We wouldn't have had to gone through a bloody civil war to get rid of our slavery. Our conservatives wouldn't have rebelled against the grand experiment, as they always do, to keep their human property in bondage. So yeah, we would have health care, right? We might be better off. We would be less stressed. We wouldn't have an unfit pedo who convicted felon, tax cheating, draft dodging, wannabe dictator, con man, baboon squatting in the Oval Office, staining it with his stench. Well, so before I get into it, I came across this. This just happened. It was posted by Really American, and others are talking about it. Traitor Trump's bored of peace. I guess he's bored of peace. BORED of PEACE of. Oh yeah, well, peace. It's the same, spelt the same, regardless. Bored of peace. We know he's bored of peace. He's gonna go to war with Iran to distract from the Epstein files. But at the Board of Peace meeting, he fell asleep. Here, let's watch the clip. Come on, play. Why isn't it playing? You see this? It's not playing. Let me reload it. Here we go.
Of the second phase of the Gaza peace plan.
Asleep.
This includes ensuring a lasting ceasefire and the successful implementation.
Jesus Christ, on a bike. What, like he gives a shit about peace? That's when they write the essential guide from this time. God. We'll know. I mean, they'll be talking about this time for God help us, probably as long as human beings have agency and sentience. But this Board of Peace, as we know, is just it's another grift. It's a Trump-chaired club of authoritarian leaning or illiberal governments, right? Like the illiberal democracy of Hungary, that's what they want to turn America into. Plus this small circle of Trump world corporate insiders. Anyone who's really interested in peace doesn't want anything to do with this scam, another scam. Trump has written himself into the charter for as the chairman for life. And let's hope, I don't know, that great getting up morning. That's probably why. I mean, is he going to be the chairman for life when he's dead, too? We're all going to have to praise the dear leader, like Kim Jong. You know what? Oh, thinking of Kim Jong-un and Il and whatever the other one was. Did you see that Kim Jong-un has named his successor to be his daughter? And it really irritates me thinking that North Korea could have a female leader before the United States does. Shame on us. Shame on America. And you've probably also seen that if the election were held today, Traitor Trump would be trounced in a landslide by Harris or Biden, depending. What a disgrace. Shame on everyone. And shame on all the Democrats, the 9 million Democrats, or was it 8 million? It's now the number is escaping. It was either the millions of Democrats who stayed home on election day rather than vote for, to get off their fucking asses and stop an insurrectionist con man who left office with 1 million corpses in his wake and the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover. You would think that would be enough. A convicted felon, a convicted rapist, that would be enough to motivate you to get off your ass. But I hear a lot of Democrats or lefty, not, I guess Harris wasn't left enough. I don't know. To me, I thought it was worth it to stop fascism. The lesser of two evils. I keep hearing this bullshit. The lesser of two evils. There's no comparison. Harris would have been a good president. She would have been somebody we could be proud of and wouldn't wage war against the American people. So, and as far as relations with Israel and Gaza and the genocide going on in Gaza, at least Harris is reasonable and would be reachable and is not motivated by greed and basic and bottomless inhumanity. So I don't get it. I just don't get it. But people like that, I think it's a lot of men who get to vote with their privilege. Really. They're not the ones bleeding out in parking lots. Well, their loved ones might be. But it just speaks volumes to the disconnection that, we see. We're all facing it now. We're all in it now. Thanks to our fellow Americans, who I will never forgive. That's why I bring it up. I will never forgive. I will never forget. And I don't think we should. Because there has to be a day of atoning. Well, especially for maggots. If you voted for this 3 times, there's something wrong with you. You need help. You know, and they all call themselves Christians too. That's the other thing. Why do you always have to tell us how Christian you are? Why don't you ever show us? Right? Is that why you have to tell us all the time how Christian you are? Because we just can't see it otherwise? All of them. They never do anything that their so-called savior they pretend to worship instructed them. There's no confusion about what he said. Right? Feed the hungry, house the homeless, visit people in prison, be kind to your neighbor, turn the other cheek, leave no one behind. That kind of stuff. E pluribus unum and all that stuff. Pledging your life, fortune, and sacred honor to each other. Not funneling into your rapaciously bottomless pit of need and greed. For yourself. Selfishness. According to this maggot tree that we're under. It's selfishness. Greed is the only American value. I hope those days are coming to an end. But, yeah, so the Board of Peace, let's see, there's an executive board and a Gaza executive board. But, of course, no one representing Gaza is on the Gaza executive board. The figures on the board, on this fake board, I mean, we don't have enough to fucking do. These pricks, they're not screwing us enough. They are setting us up for failure. On every level, science, medicine, climate, and we gotta waste everyone's time sitting around a board of fake peace with this fucking baboon who can't even keep his eyes open because he's so rattled and riddled with dementia that he needs a nap. Right? If this was Biden, that's why I can't take it. I can't stand these people. If this were Biden, they would never stop on Fox News. But we don't hear anything about how Traitor Trump's manifest unfitness, of course, and the fact that he's all over the Epstein files, raping children, okay? I'm sorry to wreck the YouTube algorithm. It's really hard to get around it nowadays, given what we're facing, what we're up against. Jeez. So, yeah, who's on this board? Marco Rubio. I mean, shame on him. He's the one that said Trump is a con man. A con man will never be the standard bearer of the Republican Party. Well, oh well. Yeah, he's a commie. And there's no, and don't tell me that, when he tries to rewrite his history and his complicity in this destruction of the American experiment, that he took the job. He took the job as Secretary of State to tamp down on traitor Trump's worst instincts. No, he is enabling these worst instincts. He's complicit. And that, I mean, just because, if that's your excuse, Rubio, because we all know what's going to happen after this baboon meets his maker legally and peacefully, and as we all will do one day. But Marco Rubio will try to rehab himself, his image. And I'm of the opinion none of them get a pass. Not a single one. Not a filthy fascist billionaire. Not a mediocre billionaire. Not any of corporate, no corporate American bootlicker. None of them. Nobody, from high and low, from the lowliest maggot to man-child Musk, none of them get a pass. There has to be accountability. Real accountability, too. Not bullshit meted out by Merrick the Meek. Oh, God. So, who else? Steve Witkoff, Trump's real estate ally and so-called special envoy to what? I don't know. Special envoy to sycophancy? Jared Kushner, Tony Blair. Jesus Christ. Mark Rowan, who is Apollo Global Management. AJ Banga, World Bank President. Nikolai Malnovov, High Representative for Gaza. Plus regional security and diplomatic officials from Turkey, Qatar, Egypt. Oh, all of our democratic allies, right? Board of Peace. United Arab Emirates. Well, I guess there's no women on this board. Are there? Let's see. I'm going to ask this. Are there women on this board? No, why would there be? Because that's DEI, right? Can't have that, because these men are doing such a bang-up job when it comes to peace, security. Oh, yes, it's essentially a boys' club with a few women sprinkled in for cover. 2 women are named. Oh, look at this. UAE Minister for State of Internal Cooperation, Reem Al-Hashimi, and a Dutch diplomat, Sigrid Kaag. Oh, good. Maybe they get coffee, right? Yes, hey, Errol on the chat. Yes, hi, Tarabuster. Is this going to be live every Thursday? Yes, it is. I just came on the chat from Twitch. Sorry I missed you this past Tuesday. That's okay. You had a pass, so you had a hall pass. No need to apologize. Yeah, I know, it is what it is. I did it. Well, whatever. I didn't tell anybody. I just said, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do this thing. Let's do this Tarabuster. Why not? No time like the present. Exactly. All right, so let's see. Where do we begin? How about... where is the Mountbatten Windsor mother effer? The ex-prince. I am, even though he's a pedo, I kind of feel bad for him, this guy. Could you imagine? He deserves it. It's really nice to see that somebody has I mean, he's a dick. Why am I feeling bad for him? Because I'm a human being. I don't know. I have empathy, unfortunately, probably to a fault. But I think about his whole life. He has had his ass kissed to such a degree, and he is such a dick on top of it. When you see and hear stories about Prince Andrew, he's not the favorite of the staff. He's not the favorite royal of the people who work for the royal family. He's their least favorite because he treats everybody like shit. And there's so many stories about this, of him making cops go, like the people who are guarding his useless carcass self, as he's chipping golf balls, making the security detail go and fish out his fucking golf balls from the lake and shit. And like, this is what they were meant to do. They're not meant to be your caddies, but he treats people like shit. And what are you going to say, right? He has no respect. And then the way he would talk to people, when you hear the there are people on YouTube who tell stories after leaving his employ. They talk about how he's just such an asshole to them, cursing at them, calling them, the C word. And what are they doing? And imagine, this guy had his whole life curated constantly. Never had to worry about anything. Never had to stress out. Woken up in the morning, had his fucking clothes laid out for him, his breakfast ready. Yes, sir. No, sir. And what do they do with this? And also the stuffed animals. You might have seen there was a movie, they included his stuffed animal. He has stuffed animal. Like, what grown man has stuffed animals on his bed? Where when the staff had to remake the bed every day, you had to have his stuffed animals put precisely back as they were. Otherwise, there'd be hell to pay. And they had photographs of the stuffed animals, and if he were any of these stuffed animals were out of sorts, forget about it. Now, what a piece of shit! Screaming at staff for not putting your stuffed animals on a grown ass man. I'm not talking about this was when he was a child, and that would be bad enough. Yelling at the staff, and then to think about, this is why I believe that, and I'm sure you agree, billionaires, people like Prince Andrew or former Prince Andrew, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, should be, there's no inherent decency in a family, right? We don't need a royal family. It's like England has a bunch of pets. We're all fascinated watching the Crown. That's a good show. But it's the fact that these people are real and we all have to pay for them. Well, we don't pay for them, but we pay for our billionaires here. We pay a lot fucking more, I gotta tell you. And at least, I guess, in comparison, the royal family has to somewhat pretend to be serving the public. And maybe they do. Some of them do. Because, damn, I would love to do that. Just go around and advocate the causes I believe in. But what did Andrew do with his privilege and power and his his good fortune, winning the Lucky Sperm Club, being born into the royal family? He palled around with pedophiles. He used his power to get his tiny dick wet and abuse children, as they all do. Doesn't seem... This is why. You see, what we're reading in the Epstein files is that these, the powerful, the privileged and the powerful don't deserve to be there. They don't have the core decency. And we have to have an entire paradigm shift, an entire, psychic change in our thinking, that we need to elect people and loan power to some on the basis of decency, on altruism, on the public good, not the good of Jeffrey Epstein and Steve Bannon. And when you read the Epstein files, you read their chats, their private emails, it becomes clearer that that they're unfit, that they have no business leading us anywhere. That's why the world is all fucked up. That's why we have climate change issues and hunger, starvation, and homelessness. That's why the world is suffering. People are suffering because we have fundamentally unfit, greed-centered ghouls in the halls of power. And yes, Pie Guy on the chat, MAGA worships these guys. It's so true. It's pathetic. They elevate them. They put them on a pedestal. They make it as if, or they believe, it seems, as if being wealthy is synonymous with being good. And they don't. Is it good? No, it's synonymous with to them. And we did the other show because we were talking about billionaires on the other show, and I always talk about billionaires anyway, how they are unfit and are anathema to freedom and democracy, and need to be taxed down to size or down to reasonableness at least, right? But I'm just getting an email that distracted me. Anyway, yeah, but we were talking about, I fucking lost my train of thought. It's all connected though. Because, yeah, with these people they're not fit. And when you read the emails and their private correspondence that they didn't think would ever reach the light of day or anyone else's eyes, but the eyes of a convicted pedophile, it's clear that they are, that they're immature. They're juvenile. They are sick. You know, they're talking about what did one of these emails? Was it Lex Wexner that wrote to Jeffrey Epstein? I wanted to give you what you loved for your birthday, and he drew a pair of boobies. Are you fucking 12 years old, right? Well, these are the masters of the universe. And yeah, okay, you have a business, wonderful. And this is another thing. During the last show we were talking about, nobody gets rich on their own. And remember, during one of the campaigns, Elizabeth Warren said that you didn't build that, and they all pounced on her. Of course, the maggots when they were teabaggers. And Fox News, you didn't build that. No, you didn't fucking build that. And then she had to qualify it and explain it and all that. She was 100% correct. What she meant was you didn't build that on your own. Let's stick to, what's his name? Jeff Bezos. You didn't make did you create the internet? Did you fund the research and development that created the internet? No, that was created through taxpayer money and government research and development, and you get to profit off of that. Did you build the roads? Did you make the books? Did you write the books in your bookstore online? Did you teach the people to read who would buy those books that made you rich? Did you build the banking system? Did you build the court system that backed your contracts? No. So there's a whole infrastructure of democracy, of freedom and democracy that you didn't build that. So you don't do it on your own. Unless you're the fucking Unabomber, go into the woods, build your little cabin, live off the land, no electricity, build your own, do your own little hamster wheel electricity. Have a nice fire, build a well, right? No, they don't. Dig a well. No, right? But this is what I'm talking about. We're all connected. And they owe that to us. So the fact that Bezos and Musk is now, he's got like 700 something. He's close to $1 trillion. He's going to be a trillionaire. Fuck that. How dare we allow that to happen? And Jeff Bezos, whatever he is, billions and billions, hundreds of times over. That's because of a broken and skewed tax system. And Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, this fucking loser, who, I mean, what a loser, right? And what a loser. All of them are losers. And they better be afraid of the pitchforks and torches. That's where I'm at. Legally and peacefully. I'm at the point of pitchforks and torches at the gate at this point. Because how much more do they need? How much longer are we going to take it from this Epstein class? All over the world, the Epstein class is facing accountability, except here in America, because of our corrupt system. Not just the system, but the people in charge of it. Pam Bondi. Imagine what Pam Bondi has seen. She's seen all the unredacted Epstein files. She's the one that warned Traitor Trump that, oh, you're in the Epstein files. Of course he knew he was in there, but he counted on the stupidity of the idiots who vote for him. The con man doesn't respect his marks. He thought he could control it, but it wasn't going away. That's why he's like, oh, I think we should all move on. Now he's ready to invade and attack Iran. This bitch, this fucking convicted felon pedo piece of dirt will start a nuclear war to distract from the Epstein files. Iran is not Iraq. And not that it matters, because he's not gonna, none of his family's gonna fight. Barron's not gonna put on a uniform. He's gonna wear the uniform of a sucker and a loser. And everything that I think about when all this stuff comes out, when I start talking and I think about all the things he said, suckers and losers, about people who served, and I want to vomit that anybody voted for him, that there's any support at all for this Epstein class, for any of them. And Pam Bondi saw the unredacted Epstein files. We've only seen what we've seen, and it's bad enough. The crimes in there of Trump raping children. People, it's in there. But Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, he's been arrested, and what happened? Let's see. On suspicion of misconduct in public office tied directly to the new Epstein file revelations, including him allegedly sending confidential trade envoy reports to Jeffrey Epstein in 2010. So what's going to happen here? So 2010, it's really not that long ago, but it goes to show you the other, all over the world, accountability is happening. But here in the United States of Serfs and Lords, we are continuing to let the pedos off scot-free and allow this baboon to set America up for failure. Trump, why? This is the other thing. When I was looking up some topics for today, just researching what we're talking about now. And it's almost shocking to me how much you have to dig for it. What are they talking about right now on the news, they were talking about the arrest of the former Prince Andrew. But there's other things happening that don't get any play in the media at all. Like the fact that Trump is, for example, how much the Republicans are setting us up for failure in all of their policies, how they're dragging us back, how they are everything having to do with climate change. They have not. They're not only just dismantling our climate infrastructure, anything that combats climate change. They're dragging us backwards, and all over the world, the entire world is moving forward with electric vehicles. Now, for years, the Republicans had said one of their excuses for continuing to guzzle big oil, and I know that we know that it's simply about money, but the one of the things they would say is, well, China will never comply to whatever we do, right? Whatever happens here in America, it won't matter because China won't ever comply to any fuel standards. Well, that's not true, because China is actually reducing emissions. They're on the vanguard of electric vehicle adoption and electric grid adoption. Not here, though. Here, these monsters. One of the first things Trump did. Think about this. This is how disgusting they are. All over the country, there are federal properties. On federal properties, we were building the electric grid. So if you had an electric car, you could drive your car to a parking lot in a federal building or whatever it might be, a park, a national park, and there are electric chargers. The Republicans unplugged them. So they're there, but they're not operable. They're unplugged. For what fucking reason? And this past Super Bowl was the first time in years there were no commercials for electric vehicles here in the United States, because corporations are part of the problem. You see, they don't give a shit about America. They only pretend to be all about mom and apple pie. When it seems advantageous to them, they'd be just as happy with an authoritarian hellscape. In fact, they'd be happier. That's what happened during the rise of the Nazis in the last century. Corporations went right into bed with Hitler. They love the slave labor. They love the fact that there's no unions. They love a nice and desperate and easily compliant working class majority that doesn't ever dare demand a seat at the table. That's what we're dealing with. This is the Epstein class. It's not, when I say corporations, this is the Epstein class, the Epstein mentality. It's a worldview that seems to be held by so many in power. And they don't have to be in power. We don't have to allow this to continue. But we will, as long as we remain divided, as long as we fall for the bullshit, the divide and conquer strategies, the Russian-funded propaganda that the Republicans love to spread. There is a reason that the Kremlin funded the likes of Tim Pool and Benny Johnson, and that the fact that these people like them, that Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and there were others whose names escape me, but who were getting money from the Kremlin to spew pro-Trump propaganda. And the fact that there are any Americans at all, or people in general, that actively consume that content. I mean, you got to wonder, how much do you hate this country? I can understand if you're an enemy of America and you consume Benny Johnson's content or Tim Pool's content, knowing that they are Russian, assets, that they took money from Russia to talk about Trump, to say how wonderful Trump is. And hey, they'll take it because that's what they were doing anyway, spreading the pro-Trump lie. So the fact that, like anybody who listens to that You got to wonder, how much do you hate America? It's the same thing with Fox News. When Fox News makes its viewers less informed than those who watch no news at all. And then you have, they were hit with the largest judgment against the media company for lying to its viewers, but they still have viewers. Right? This is how sick we are in this country. Sick. So, unreal. No accountability. All over the world, there's accountability, there's consequences for people who appear in the Epstein files. Of course, just appearing in the Epstein files doesn't mean you were complicit, but in other cases, of course, just being named for whatever reason might not mean you're guilty, but there needs to be investigations. Prince Andrew, as we know, he's stripped of his titles, his patronages. He's forced to stop using His Royal Highness. Nobody could call him that. Good. Fuck you, Your Royal Highness. My royal white Irish ass. Kiss that. And who else? Let's see. Peter Mandelson. He's a former Labor cabinet minister. He resigned from the House of Lords and lost senior party roles. Now he's under criminal investigation. Okay. In France, let's see. Jack Lang. He was the former culture minister. He appears in the Epstein files, long-standing financial and social relationships with Epstein, right? Social relationships. It's so pathetic. How do you fucking hang out with a filthy, convicted pedophile who has children, like a harem, right? But this is because it's the Epstein class. It's the Epstein mindset. Here's Tara Jr. Hello. Hello. What? You checking in on the show? Just relax. Sit down and be good. Let's see. There's Mona Juul in Norway. She resigned as Norway's ambassador to Jordan and may face further legal scrutiny. Is that the queen or the princess or something? She's not going to become queen. All right, get down already. He's biting me again. He's a biter. He bites. Yeah, it goes on. All over the world, Norway especially. There are a few names in Norway. Former prime ministers, former foreign ministers. Israel, former prime minister, as we know. And not here, nothing in the United States. In the United States, nothing happened. Of course, all of the people mentioned, the Justice Department said, nothing to see here immediately. The Injustice Department. Now, that's Pam Bondi. She saw the unredacted Epstein files and lied right to our faces. And it goes to show you how evil they are. You get it? Because think about it. Pam Bondi saw all the unredacted files, how Traitor Trump was involved, hung out with Epstein, palling around with a pedo for 2 decades. He appears in the Epstein files a million times. He's on thousands and thousands of pages, over 1 million times, being credibly accused by victims of rape and abuse and being a disgusting piece of dirt. And Pam Bondi, we all saw that, her antics the other day and earlier when she sat in front of the Senate. Donald Trump is the greatest president that ever lived. I guess they think if they say it enough, we'll all believe it. Well, it's authoritarianism. That's what we're in the midst of in this hellscape. But it goes to show you, it just speaks to her, who she is. What's the accountability going to be with her, for her? She's a pedo protector. As a woman, could you imagine a woman seeing the rape of children and going out of her way to protect the pedophiles? Something is disgusting in that person's soul, and they have no business being in power. None of them do. None of them do. So when will we, I think about the Iroquois Confederacy, and I've read this thing before. I had an article about how the Iroquois Confederacy were, how they would choose their chiefs. And it was the women would choose the chief in the Iroquois Confederacy because according to the article I was reading, the women were, for the most part, the ones who got to know the children as they were growing up, and they knew the hearts of the children. And children who were selfish would never be considered for leadership. It were the children who were kind, always helpful, always helping others. They would be considered for future to be the chiefs of the tribe. But it would only be approved by the women. And it just seems like the opposite here. Here in the United States of serfs and lords, could you imagine? Always kind, always helping others? That's your qualification for leadership? Not here. Your qualification for leadership is, are you in their club? Are you in the Epstein class? Are you a greed-centered dirtbag man-child who, just wants to, who will, well, not only wants to get their most prurient, I won't even say needs, their most prurient wants met. Really, it's like a monster. They're like a serial killers and stuff. But could you imagine what a different world if we actually considered helping other people as part of the requirement? There's nothing in Traitor Trump's entire life that has him doing anything for anybody else but himself. In fact, quite the opposite. But there's something damaged in these people's personality. And I'm looking at the time. Oh my God, it goes by so fast. I have so many articles, but and now the show is on. We got like 10 minutes left. And we have to cut the show at 2. So there's no, it has to be very tight. Only because we have another show coming up after on the Political Voices Network. Hold on a second. Yeah, anyway, all right. How's everybody doing in the chat room? Nice to see everybody. I'm just looking up my thingy-bob. The other thing. Here's another thing. Well, we'll come back on Friday. This Friday, we'll have Charles Derber. I have an author, Charles Derber, coming on, and he just wrote a book about toppling oligarchy. He's been on the show before, but he's going to be on Friday's Tarabuster tomorrow night. Tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. But, okay, yeah. What time is it? Here we go. So what's going to happen to Mountbatten Windsor? He's been arrested. I'm waiting for a mugshot. I'm just looking on the Huffington Post. If anything has been posted. Nope. Epstein fallout but not here. You see, like I said, Trump is getting ready to go to war with Iran because he needs his distractions. In the Epstein files, here's some most disturbing accounts. Let's see. Prominent names include an entry about Epstein victim, name redacted, who said that Epstein introduced her to Trump sometime between 1983 and 1985 when she was around 13 years old. The slide states that Trump allegedly forced her head down towards his exposed penis. She subsequently bit his penis, and in response, Trump punched her in the head and kicked her out. A linked database similarly describes a report that an underage girl around 13 at the time in New Jersey's roughly 35 years earlier, this is 30, at the time, this is 35 years ago, said she was forced to perform oral sex on Donald Trump, bit him, then was hit in the face after she laughed about biting him. The girl also said she was abused by Epstein. These accounts appear in the lead tracking part of the Epstein release. But I mean, none of these have been investigated. So who you got to wonder, even if you say, oh, well, that's a lie. Well, investigate it. Why aren't you investigating it? Of course not. And this is a failure. Let's not let Democrats off the hook. That's why all Democrats, when we talk about Bill Clinton, and the Republicans are, well, Bill Clinton, that's another distraction. Sure, Bill Clinton. If he's in the Epstein files and it's proven that he has committed crimes, especially against children, he needs to face accountability. No one is saying otherwise. No Democrat is going to bat for Bill Clinton. None of us would. We want justice for the victims, for the survivors. We want this disgusting system toppled. We want a country, a more perfect union, a country that works for everyone. Not the Epstein class, because the Epstein class are horrible. Look at Steve Bannon. Think about horrible. He's all over the Epstein files. And isn't he, this is how sick and evil they are. He was one of the main perpetrators of the QAnon conspiracy about Democrats being pedos. When he's palling around with a pedo, where he and the pedo are coming up with ways to destroy the earth in regards to decency, dignity, democracy. And he has the nerve he does his show with a picture of Jesus behind him and a flag. You see, they all have to cover themselves, wrap themselves in the flag. Traitor Trump literally rapes a flag on stage. And we all have to believe them? Don't believe their actions, just believe their words and their branding. But, oh yes, he loves America so much that he's going all over the world trying to recruit fascists to help him destroy the democratic countries of Earth, including America. They hate America. And we better be clear-eyed about that. Just like they hate humanity. They're unfit to be in the halls of power. And I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of them getting off scot-free. And, I wait for that great getting up morning, and I long for it. But I want Traitor Trump to face accountability. I wonder if he ever will. But while they set us up here's another, I see that we only have a few minutes left. But there's another story I just wanted to touch upon, because it's going to, I don't know, it's kind of in the running at this point for Trump's next pardon. All right? Because, of course, it regards a bunch of rich fucks who steal from people Florida, where is it? Come on. And it's being reported all over Fox News because it involves Obamacare. That's why. And that's what I was talking about when I was researching the show earlier, and I came across this story. I didn't see it anywhere else except on Fox News, which is kind of sus, but I realize I don't know why there's an ad for put stockings over your toilet. That's weird. I swear I have no stockings over my toilet. What does that do? Always put stockings on your toilet. Why? I don't want to click it. I just want to remove it. Put stockings on your toilet? Why? Why would you do that? Oh, God. What is this? So, two executives... let's take a bet if this will be Trump's next pardon. Right? I wonder. Since, they're executives. And he'll say, they were treated so unfairly. And all they were doing was like what Steve Bannon did. Rob people. Dupe people. See, Steve Bannon was pardoned. Let's remember that. Speaking of being a Russian asset who hates America, Steve Bannon was found on... when he was arrested, he was in international waters on a yacht owned by a Chinese billionaire. And he was arrested for running a scam, Save or Build the Wall pack that, of course, he didn't even have the decency to set up. It was just a money pit for dumbass maggots to pay Steve Bannon. They are all suckers. Suckers are born every minute. Trumpanzees are living proof. That's how much they respect their audience. And I think about that, I have nowhere near the audience that Steve Bannon does. That's why this world is so fucked up. And that sucks. But I would never grift off my audience. I would never set up some kind of pack and say, donate to whatever, this sick animal, this sick wounded animal. And it was going into my pockets. Sick. That's how much they hate the people who support them. How could they not? Because they know they're conning them. They know that they're nothing but marks. They're nothing but hosts from which to suck profit and discard. Well, so these two so-called job creators in Florida spent years looting Obamacare to the tune of 33 million? Literally targeting homeless people, people with mental illness, people with addiction, hurricane victims, people who are vulnerable, politically unconnected, can't fight back. That's the favorite victim of Republicans. They never kick up. They never try to target people with power. They only target people who can't fight back. So, the only system... right? The hurricane victims. That's another. Yeah, I said that already. If you ever want to see a case study for Republicans screaming out welfare fraud at some poor person buying groceries while completely ignoring the industrial scale theft by, their donors, this is it. And the only reason Fox News is reporting it is because it's Obamacare. The fraud is happening in Obamacare. But let's stay tuned and see if this is Traitor Trump's next pardon. All right, I hear the music, guys. So that means, like I said, I got to go. I gots to go because we got another show happening right after this. Stay tuned on the Political Voices Network for the next guy. The next guy is coming. All right, listen, come on Friday on Tarabuster, Charles Derber. We're going to talk about oligarchy, overthrowing it. Subscribe to my Substack. We will win. All right, hold on. All right, I'm sorry. I have a hard time with names. So yeah, Ben Camino's show is coming on next. All right, guys, listen. See you soon. Subscribe to my Substack. Thank you for hanging out. My name is Tara Devlin. We're on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Tune in for Ben Camino. I'll see you soon.